Now, I'm probably going to be delayed. I'm now trying, I'm just going to give this a go for a couple of minutes and see if it works. Let me know, is the audio in sync or is it out? Let me know as soon as you get it in the chat. Because now I'm trying Ecamm. I'm just going to see if this is any different than what I was doing before. So let me know as soon as someone pops in, because they're not going to be ready for me. But I want to check and make sure that the audio is in sync. I think I can change that actually under preferences. Ecamm preferences. Where was the audio? So I can delay it there. So I'll just wait for someone to pop in, and then we'll start from there. Let me just play a little bit of music until someone comes in.
Yeah, it's a hot day. I'm hanging in the sunshine. You should hit me with the splash gun so I cool down. Won't you come on over? We can party till the sun's down. Baby, let me buy you a drink while we're dancing a blink. I could go for some Queen Bee too. AC's going boom boom. If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing by the line for the water slide. You can come on over. We can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. On a wave of good feelings. Well, it's just another Friday in paradise. So bring your A game, cause you know this party won't stop. We could never run out of time, sipping strawberry lime. You know I wanna share it with you. AC's going boom boom. If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing by the line for the water slide. You can come on over. We can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. It's getting kinda crazy up in here. Got that DJ playing music, everybody wants to hear it. It's getting kinda crazy up in here. Everybody wants a ride. Water slide. 3, 4. If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing by the line for the water slide. You can come on over. We can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. Water slide. Yeah, it's a hot day. I'm hanging in the sunshine. You should hit me with the splash gun so I cool down. Won't you come on over? We can party till the sun's down. Baby, let me buy you a drink while we're dancing a blink. I could go for some Queen Bee too. AC's going boom boom.
Well, that was weird. So let me know in the chat if my audio is is it in sync, or do I have to change it? Because now I'm using Ecamm. I'm trying something different, and the cache is not even budging. So that's really bizarre. It could be that I restarted my Mac, so that may have been an issue as well. because I've only been putting it to sleep. So let me know in the chat if the audio... Oh, it's low, is it, the audio? Okay. Let me bring this up. I think I can do it through here. How's that? Is that better? Testing 1, 2. Is the audio better now? And let me know too if it's in sync and if the audio now is okay. It looks like it's showing it's okay for peaking up there. But yeah, I just want to know before I start that the audio is in sync. A tad more up. Okay. So testing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing. Testing 1, 2. Yes and yes. That's better. Okay, cool. All right, so I can close that. So it looks like it's all okay. So I was just saying before, I've just come back from the big COVID that I've been crook. Minus 6 dB. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's interesting because it's showing here that it's peaking at minus 10. Wow. Minus 10, minus 6. So that's good anyway. Okay. So anyway, so I'm back. I have had a month off due to basically being crook, getting over it. I'm still a little bit, iffy. My voice is still a little bit funny, and I had a really, really bad sore throat, and I still feel a bit tired actually from it. So, I think it's just going to take a while to get over it. But anyway, I'm back. I have added a couple of videos if you want to check them out. I did one, I think just yesterday, the day before, that shows this new wireless system. My God, that thing is, look, I know they sent it to me, but that is the best wireless system that I've ever had and ever used. So if you wanted to check that out, check it out. It's the previous video before this one. But I want to get started because I don't know how long my voice is going to last because it might just go. So I'm going to go through some stuff because there's a fair bit of news to go around today. So let's just see here. I think it's this one, is it? No, it's this one. All right, so let me just go back to here. The interesting thing now is that they're saying that, well, it is. We're in the second half of the year officially now. And we've been talking about this for quite some time, that there's going to be a new A7RV coming out and a new ZV camera and a Cine E-mount camera as well. And I'm going to talk about these as well. Don't worry, guys, I'm going to come back to the chat, so I will come back to that because people have fired away. So just fire away in the chat. Just let me see. Does that come up? Is this the resurrection? I love it. Yeah, it does. So they're saying, the rumours seem to be pointing out that we're going to get a A7R5 first, which is, that's pretty interesting in itself. There was a couple of things that I was wondering about early on. I didn't know whether they would replace the A9s because I thought the A9 III, well, the A9 II is due really to be replaced. But it looks like they may be thinking about doing an A7R5 first. And I noticed that they'd put another one up this morning that said that, where was it? It was over here, I think. They're saying here that they think it may use a 90-plus megapixel sensor. I mean, I don't know how I feel about this. Look, do we really need sensors that high? I suppose, look, if you're shooting landscapes, if you're shooting wildlife, birds, yes, you definitely do. And I suppose if you're in studio also, it's great for retouching skin and things like that. But if they bring out this, I would love it if they do bring that out and they give us the options with the lower res raw files. So if they do give you, say, a low, medium and a high, this would be fantastic. It really would be great if they do that. But, I mean, I'd love to know too what you guys think about that too. Do you think we need more megapixels than what we have in the A7R now? I think if they give us that, like I said, that low, medium and high, it would be fantastic. It just says here that I can now confirm via multiple sources that the Sony A7 IV should be on the market around October 2022. So it's not that far away. I don't know yet if the announcement will happen early in August or September. Remember, they'll always announce it first and give you a pre-sort of announcement, and then they'll say when it's going to be released. So it may be announced in that time, and then we'll have to wait a couple of months to get it. It just says here that I have no reliable specs yet, but if you want to enjoy some wild rumour, this is the last one I got, that, that it'll be a 90-odd megapixel file size. It doesn't... I'm not surprised because Canon are rumored to be bringing out one of the, really high megapixel sensor as well. So perhaps Sony are trying to jump the gun here, The other thing too is that they're also saying a new ZV camera. The ZV-E10 probably will get replaced with a higher-ended model that's coming out. So that looks like that may be another one as well. So I'm just wondering what they're saying about this, if they're saying anything. A new ZV entry mid-level blogger camera. I have no date yet, but this could be the first camera to be announced in late summer. So they're saying that can be the first camera to be announced in late summer. I love the ZV-E10. I've got one right up here. I was trying to do a wide angle with it, which worked just the other day. And then I went to try it this morning before this show and it didn't work. So I'm going to have to problem solve that as well. It's because I haven't done live for so long. I went to try everything and a few things weren't working, so I'm going to have to sort that out before next week's live. But I love the ZV-E10. It's fantastic. And in fact, there was a question that I had down there. Andre actually said it. He just said, have you ever had overheating issues with the ZV-E10? How long can you run it? Thinking of buying one? No. Well, I haven't, Andre. I've never had it overheat, and I run it for ages and ages and ages. Look, if you're doing it in direct sun and it's a hot day and it's right in sun, it may, but I haven't had it overheat. So that's as much as, I can say about that. So anyway, I'm not sure what they could improve much about this. I suppose I'd love them to put 4K 60 in it. That would be fantastic if they could, say, give us 4K 60 in a vlogging camera. That would be terrific. I think that's really the only thing that it misses, really. I love that camera. I love the fold-out screen. It's a pity I can't show it to you today because I had a really, really wide-angle lens on it. It's a fisheye, and I wanted to show you the perspective that you get from just this, but I'll try and get that set up for next week so that's working. It's still not working. Let me just check it. I'm pretty sure it's not. But so hopefully I can get that next week and show you because it's really cool looking at it. No, it's not there. Through a really, really wide-angle lens. And it's also saying here too that a new E-mount Cine camera as well. So that's interesting. I wonder if that's going to be a high-end one or is it going to be sort of around the FX3 area. So that's a really interesting rumor as well. So that's that. So it looks like new camera-wise, we're going to get the A7RV, which I think is definitely due anyway. I mean, if you think about it, that's been out for a while now, so that's definitely due for an upgrade. I'm hoping that I'm pretty sure that you'll get the decent back LCD with that now. Look, if they don't do that, it's just going to be nuts from Sony. So they really have to give us that now. So I'm hoping that has the better rear screen. It'll be interesting too to see if they put the really good EVF in that camera as well. I mean, if it gave us the new EVF on it, the 9 million dot whatever EVF that it is, and also the really nice rear screen on it, the LCD, that would be an amazing camera. And if they gave us a, your high, low, and medium RAW on it, which I think they probably will, if they do give us that, and then, we got 4K 60 on this, be a very, very tempting camera. I'd love that aspect of being able to, say, shoot the high megapixel if I needed it, but then also, like, if I was doing a wedding or something with it, that I could shoot it on the, the lower res file size. So I think that would be terrific if they gave us that. So, that's interesting in itself. So anyway, that's that rumor. Let me just keep coming over. There's also a new rumor here about Tamron too. Tamron are meant to be looking at, say, releasing this 50 to 400 millimeter. It's an f4.5 to 6.3. This would be a really nice lens to have a play around with. Tamron will obviously send me this if it is being released. I couldn't tell you if it's official or not because it's not been announced yet. But this will be a great fun lens to play with if it's true. But this is the leaked image. It looks like you do have a number of programmable buttons through there, probably for your focus range and things like that. It'll have the new linear focusing motors in them, which is always terrific now. They're fantastic. So that's as much information as we've got on that. They're saying no info about pricing or anything yet on that. But it looks like a pretty exciting, lens. So I can't wait to have a go with that one. Another one here too is leaked image of a Tekina 11 to 18 millimeter f2.8. Now, it's great that we're still getting APS-C lenses announced. So, I think that's terrific. And they're saying that's going to be around September. It looks like it's a nice little lens, actually, nicely balanced on the A6000 series cameras. It says, just received 2 images showing a new Tekina lens. This will be the first Tekina wide zoom autofocus lens, Sony APS-C since the 11 to 18 2.8. Size is very compact. Likely the same as the Tamron 11 to 20, and I love that when I used that lens. That was fantastic. So that was really good, a great size. And the filter size might be also 67, so it is really small. On the back side, micro USB port can be seen. That'll be for your firmware. Remember, only at this stage you can do the firmware. I'm pretty sure it's the only two is Tamron and also Sony through the camera. The others you have to do it through, using a dock or something like that, or a USB drive. There's also no information about the retail price yet, but the lens should be on the market in September. Stay tuned for more. Ooh. Forgot Kerry brought me out a coffee. Well, it's actually Milo, I think. Hot chocolate Milo. Stay tuned for more on that one. Now, this, actually, I'm going to make that the last thing, talking about the FX3. This is interesting too. This looks really good, actually. If you want to travel really, really light, Sony have announced this new ECM G1. It's an ultra-compact camera vlogging style lens that you can see here, and it also has a dead cat that you can put over the top of it as well. And it also looks like you've got headphones out through here as well. I think that's probably what that will be. Now, that's great because some of these don't have headphones out and things like that. So if you've got that ability to put your microphone on and then also hear it too, that's a really nice feature. Tiny, it uses the electronic hot shoe that's in the Sony camera, so that's also great as well. I'm just trying to see if it does say if it's got the headphone socket. Just saying it's designed for vloggers. Yeah. The only difference is the one I've got, and I can't even remember the model number, it's the previous one to these that has the flat top. That also works from behind and also the sides. I think this is only working from the front. So that's, if you are dealing with this from vlogging, you would have to have the microphone facing you. So that's one difference about this. But the price is very, very reasonable compared to that other Sony microphone that I've got. Immediate release, so it's probably released now, I think. Let me just see if it mentions about the headphone socket. It's only tiny. Making it easy to use anytime. The microphone's compact size and mobility. Yeah, I don't think it's mentioning it. The new also includes a microphone jack. Oh, so it's a mic jack. Oh, okay. So it's not a headphone jack. Interesting. So I suppose they're saying that if you wanted to then go wireless, you could stick something like a Rode Wireless Go or something like that on this. I was hoping that was going to actually be a headphone jack, but it's not. It's actually a microphone jack. Okay. Available August. So yeah, it's not quite available yet. $150 United States dollars and $190 Canadian. Its pre-orders are already open now. Anyway, that's it. So that's that one. I thought that would be interesting to look at. And before we go and talk about the FX3, also Sigma, they're soon to announce the 20 1.4 and the 24 1.4 FE. Now, this is going to be really interesting because I'm really wondering what this is, this 24 f1.4 lens, how it's going to compete with the Sony lens. I adore the Sony lens. The 24 GM is unbelievable. It's one of my favorite lenses that I've ever used. It's going to be interesting to see how this compares, particularly in weight and size, because that's the thing I love about the 24 GM is the size of that thing. It's so light and so small. It's just amazing. I very rarely take it off my A7S3 actually. So it's sort of permanently on there. But so it's a 21.4. That's interesting. And a 24 1.4 as well. And they're both art lenses too. So these will be really, really good quality. Now, let's come back to this, because this was the main story that I wanted to talk about today, actually, is the FX3 camera has had a major firmware update. I did do a video talking about this a few weeks ago, talking about how particularly with the Sony and the A1, the A7S3 and the A1, it's sort of been a little bit neglected, I think. And even the older cameras like the Sony A7R4 and things like that really haven't had amazing updates for quite a while. The A9 had some, but yeah, it's just not. And we didn't get things in that like, the picture profiles and stuff like that. But they have added a really good firmware update to the FX3. And it includes log shooting modes, LUT importing, and timecode sync, etc. And if you look down here, I'll just go through this because it's really interesting. They've changed the way that you can use the back rear screen, that you can swipe up and get different features, and the actual menu system has changed compared to the other cameras that are out there. I'm just trying to see too. It also says that it's got this new log shooting modes with LUT monitoring to create smoother post-production workflow. It has this Cine E quick and flexible ISO modes. It uses the dual ISO modes with the S-Log3 gamma curve. Flexible ISO is quick and easy mode that allows you to change the ISO to make exposure adjustments. Cine EI and Cine EI Quick are modes that use the camera's base ISO of 800 and 12-800. So it's sort of more like an automatic mode that you're dealing with these. It says all three modes allow video shooting while monitoring with the appropriate LUT to preview the final image. See, that's fantastic that you can use the appropriate LUT. At the moment with the A7S3, you can only use, the simulated sort of look on the back of the screen that you can turn on or off. It says, additionally, this update includes preset LUTs like Sony's S709 and maintains popular picture profiles such as S-Cinetone. Users can import their own LUTs. That's the big difference with this, is that you can import your own LUT into it. I use a number of different LUTs. I'm just trying to think of the name of them. I only installed it yesterday, actually. Where is it? Phantom LUTs is the main one that I use. And they give me a LUT that I can put into my Ninja V. And I did that yesterday. There was just an update from Phantom LUTs yesterday, actually. So I install that on my Ninja V so that the LUT will match correctly on the Ninja V. So having that ability to drop that LUT into the camera as well so that you get, the proper view through the EVF and also the LCD is terrific. Because remember that sort of LUT look that we get at the moment is only simulated. So that would be fantastic to have that. So that's a really good feature. It also has this new list-style main menu screen, which provides quick access to frequently used items. Instant function FN menu display when swiping up on the screen. That's where I said you swipe up and you get this instant function menu screen. New standby movie screen provides an unobstructed view of the subject, so it has nothing on the screen at all when it does that. You can also get timecode sync as well with this adapter. And the AF auto assist function is... enables it to be smoothly switched between auto and manual focus. The FX3 now includes added functionality to assist in creative workflows such as post-production editing, embedding the LUT, etc. And also the EI exposure metadata. That will be available in Catalyst Browse. And I believe they're going to do this plugin for Adobe Premiere Pro as well. That's going to basically, what you're going to be able to do with that is you're going to be able to stabilize in Premiere Pro instead of having to use Catalyst Browse, which would be fantastic. I wish Sony would make that native to the Mac. It's still running an emulation, which is a pain. It'll be interesting to see if the Catalyst plugin, it's probably going to be native now. That will be native in Premiere, so it may run a lot better in Premiere than it actually does in Catalyst Browse. Unless it opens up Catalyst Browse from within Premiere, that could be the way that they do it, and then you've still got that, problem there. But that sort of download is available now, so you can upgrade now immediately, which is fantastic. And I do think that this is a great update if you are, if you have the Sony FX3. Now, talking about that, though, I'm a little bit worried about the A7S III now. I don't sort of have an issue with what Sony have done here because the FX3 is from the film line, so it's meant to be sort of partnered up with the FX6 and those sort of cameras. So, but what they have done here is they were very, very similar before the FX3 and the A7S III, and now they've really pushed this really sort of more to the side, and it's definitely gone more to the filmic side than it has now with being closer to the A7S III. And I understand why Sony have done that because they were very, very close, and it was hard really to determine which one you would want out of those two cameras. And now this looks like, apart from the EVF, which I would not want to give up on, this looks like a way better option than what you've got with the A7S III. And I'm a little bit worried now about the A7S III because not only, and I'd love to know your opinion about this too in the live chat, but and also in the chat below if you want to talk about this a little bit later, but with the last update that we got from Sony, it was very, very ordinary what we got for the A7S III. The A1 wasn't very good either. But the A7S III now is way behind. If you're talking about this as their highest end and a sort of cinema camera in the A7 series line, it's way behind the FX3 now, like way behind the FX3. You know, we haven't got the focus breathing fix that I think is the biggest flaw that they're not putting in. There's no excuse for Sony not putting that in, no excuse at all. Because, you know, some of the G Master lenses, the focus breathing on some of those lenses is terrible, and they haven't fixed that, and it's a real shame that they haven't given that for the A1 and the A7S III, even the A7 IV. But remember, that's also in the A7 IV as well. It's in there. The other thing too is that focus, well, I'm not too fussed about that, but, you know, you've got that focus fixture thing that does that in colours where you sort of see if it's in focus or not. But the focus breathing one is more for me the issue that they really should have added in the A7S III. But yeah, I'm not sure now. I mean, because if you look at it, if I was now getting a hybrid type camera with everything now that there's been added to the FX3, I would say that the FX3 is a much better buy than the A7S III. And the interesting thing is I checked the price here in Australia yesterday, and the A7, the FX3 is about $1,000 dearer now than the A7S III. Now, that's interesting because they probably make more money. They would make a lot more money on the FX3 than they would on the A7S III because probably one of the most expensive parts about the A7S III is the EVF. And we know that the FX3 hasn't got that EVF in it. So that's really important about, I'm wondering what's going to happen with the A7S III. I wouldn't be surprised, and I hope this doesn't happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's dumped. And I'd love to know your opinion about this. You know, I think that, say, if they bring out, you've got to admit that the A7 IV is a terrific camera. Apart from the rolling shutter, the A7 IV is an amazing all-around camera. It does great stills and it does great video. Then we would say go up to the A7R5 now. Now, if they end up putting 4K 60 in the A7 V and it has all of these new features, where does it leave the A7S III? I know that the A7S III is good in low light, but it's not that much better anymore than, say, the A7 IV. So I don't know. I mean, I'm a little bit worried about the A7S III now, and that's one of my favourite cameras I've ever used. But I'm not convinced that we're going to get much. That last update sort of made me think, oh, I don't know if they're going to really support this much at all now. And it's still their highest end A7 video camera. Remember, it's not the FX, which is the video side. So to sort of sum up, I've got no issue at all with what they've done with the FX3. And in fact, I think it's great. I think that it's fantastic that they've given these extra abilities to the FX3. What annoys me, though, is that the A7S III and the FX3 were launched very, very close together. And, you know, at the time, the money wasn't that much difference, I don't think, between both of them or whatever, but they really have pushed the FX3 and they've almost ignored the A7S III. And I think that's pretty bad, Sony. If you listen to this, I think it's pretty ordinary. But anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think about that. Again, I've blown my Sony ambassadorship. All right, so let's go anyway in the chat. So fire away. I'd love to know your opinion about some of this in the live chat, guys, because I'm curious to see what you guys think about this. So let's have a look anyway. So we've got Andre. He's just saying hi. Shadows of Smoke said, is this the resurrection? Yep, I'm back. I answered Andre's question before. Mark said, hello, everyone. Mike said, Dave, I thought I saw a Pro Photo had some new sort of remote. It does. It has a new receiver, new transmitter, I mean. I don't think there's any reason for me to upgrade to it, though. I'm happy with the ones that I've got. But, yeah, it does. It's a much better looking receiver. But anything like what Pro Photo releases, I love them, but it's expensive. So I think I'm going to stay with the ones that I've got. But, yes, it does. Stuart said the audio's loud. We've fixed that now anyway. Let me keep coming down to where we were without the audio stuff. Will the A7R5 ever come out? Yep, well, I do think, George, yes, this year sometime. Freddie's here as well. G'day, Freddie. How are you, mate? Just saw the notification of your live stream. AV is okay. Thanks, mate. And Freddie's also saying hi as well. Greg said 90 megapixels sounds very appealing to me. See, Greg is a big landscape shooter as well. He's always doing landscapes. So, yep. Look, Greg, I think it would be terrific too. I really do think that's fantastic. As long as they give us this low and medium and high RAW ability with that, I'd be really happy with that camera, actually. So it does. It sounds pretty good. Stuart said if they release an A7R5... if it's 90 megapixels, it will be too much. The A150 megapixels is the sweet spot. Even though the 61 megapixel A7R4 was great, the A150 sensor is so much better. It'll be interesting to see what they do though, Stuart, because you might find that obviously this is going to be a new sensor, so it might surprise everyone in how good that it actually is. George said the file size will be ridiculous. Yep, it's not going to be small. That's for sure. They need a camera to compete with the Fuji medium format. It's only just medium format. So 90 megapixel fits that spot and will keep up with the competition. And like I said, Canon are also rumoured to be bringing out a really high-ended model as well. So, you know, I think that's a good point, Greg. Stuart said, so when you shoot a pixel shift of 200 megapixel, it's one image of 1.3 gigabytes in size. So if 90 megapixel, that would be 500 megapixel per image. Yeah, I know. It's going to be massive. What else? George said, the question is, will the A7RV be better than the A1? Well, it depends. It'll be a different camera, George. Remember, the A1 is designed for sports and things like that, very, very fast shooting. The A7 V won't be an A1 with the silent shutter. I mean, it may be usable, but it's certainly not going to have the same type of sensor that the A1 has. So, no, I think the focus... I think the autofocus now is a non-issue now with any of the new cameras that come out. The A7 IV, the A7S3, the FX3, the A1, all of those newer cameras that come out, the autofocus is so good that really, when they say the autofocus has been improved, it really is very, very small amounts. I mean, the autofocus now on all the cameras now is just getting ridiculous. If you can't get an image in focus anymore, it's not the camera, it's you. So, yeah, it's, you know, I don't think that focus is going to be an issue. Aaron is saying, bye all. How are you, Aaron? Nice to see you here. Michael's saying, hey, buddy, hope all is well. Yep, terrific here, Michael. Just getting over the big C, though, but apart from that, I'm okay. Aaron just bought a Sony A7 IV. Oh, did you, Aaron? I didn't know that. Good camera, Aaron, though, isn't it? Mike said Canon supposedly has firmware updates for video coming for the R3 and R5 next week. I'm sure they will. Canon have been very, very good, actually, with firmware updates. Really good. Joseph said, does a thing for what's that mean? Fresh cut? I'm not sure. No, it will never be too much resolution for certain users. The R line doesn't follow its principle if not. And that's probably true. It is meant to be resolution, isn't it? Look, like I said, I used to shoot medium pixel when I used to shoot fashion years and years ago. Having that ability to really zoom in and do high-end retouching is a real advantage if you have high megapixel files. Also, like I said, if you're doing landscapes or particularly wildlife, to have that ability to zoom, to crop in is a really great feature. I would never consider buying that camera unless it gave me that option that I could shoot lower res RAWs. If it gave me that would be a really appealing camera, particularly if it had 4K 60, because then if I did want to shoot really high resolution, I could. And that, like I said, that would be a really, really great feature. What else? Andre says, I would love an FX1 with the tech found in the A1 minus the photo side, the lower price than the A1. Interesting. They are saying that there's going to be a new Cine camera, but it's going to be interesting to see, what it's going to be. Elisa and Aaron's here. G'day. How are you? Nice to see you here. He just said, hope everyone is good, by the way. What else have we got? 50 to 400 would be perfect for travel. I know. How good would that be? That's why I can't wait to have a play around with that new Tamron. Really good. I can't wait, actually. Interesting thing was Tamron contacted me the other day and they were, I don't know what's happened. They were going to send me out a Fuji. There's a new Fuji lens that's come out. Tamron have released their first lens, I think, for Fuji mount cameras, and they were going to send me a Fuji and that lens, but I haven't heard from them. Perhaps they found someone that's more of a Fuji shooter to do it with, but interesting. I don't know. I should contact them about it because I was pretty excited about trying a Fuji and the Fuji lens, actually. Carbon 6 said, I just thought of adding a 100 to 400 DN for landscapes when I don't want to bring the 200 to 600. Yeah, because that's such a heavy lens. Perhaps this or a big lens anyway. Perhaps this Tamron will fit the bill even better when adding a 20G or so. Maybe. David, are you running the ZVE10 in 4K or 1080? No, it's running in 4K. Nearly always just shoot with 4K. 1080p in the A6000 series cameras, Andre, is terrible. It's mushy. I never, ever do it. So I'll always shoot in 4K and then downsample to 1080p. That jack is non-hot shoe use. Which was that one? Are you talking about the jack on the top? Oh, so it's, okay. So you're saying you can't put it on the hot shoe with that. Hero says, finally got the notification. No, well, it's not looking at it. It's not auxiliary out. It's actually a microphone in, which is weird. I really like the new menus and the new Cine interface, but very disappointed that they haven't got the focus breathing comp. I think they have got the focus breathing comp in the FX3. I'm pretty sure that was added as an update, Andre. I could be wrong, and someone might be able to let me know in the live chat, but I'm pretty sure that they gave the focus breathing in the FX3. I think the only two cameras that got it were the A7 IV and the FX3. I think that's correct. Let me know in the live chat if I'm wrong. Good morning from Dubai. So Para from the Philippines is here. I agree with David about the A7S3 and the FX3. Yeah, I'm really worried about the A7S3 now. I really am. Yeah, it's pretty sad that the A7S3 has been neglected when the hardware is so capable. I know, it is. That's what's driving me crazy about it. Michael said Sony has made the A7S3 a dead dinosaur as far as updates. I agree, Michael. I think that's what's probably happened. Sony is going to give nothing to the A7S3 as far as updates. Yep, I think you're right. And in fact, I think the A7S3 is going to disappear. I really do. And it does make me very, very sad. Very, very sad to say that. Really disappointing, actually. George said, as the owner of an A7S3, it makes me sad and also angry at Sony for behaving like this. I'm upset too about it too, George, to be honest. I'm not happy at all. I mean, look, they could give us more of these features on the A7S3 and say that's the end of the line and then we're not going to replace it anymore. I'm not saying to make it an FX3, but it's just disappointing what they've given to the A7S3. It really is, disappointing. Sony got to work on their rolling shutter. It's very, very good with the A7S3, though, and the FX3, though. Very, very good, in fact. The A1 also has very good rolling shutter as well. The A9 is pretty good, too. In video. APS-C line, I agree, though. It's not good. Remember, those sensors are pretty old. It's about time that Sony upgraded those sensors in the A6000 series and put a decent sensor in there because the rolling shutter is awful. I agree, it is. It's terrible with the A6000 series. Andre said it's weird that they didn't put the shutter speed angle in the FX3. Yeah, no, I would be a bit disappointed in that as well, actually, Andre. I think that's very, very strange that they didn't add that, seeing that it's definitely the cinema line. But I've got a feeling that they don't want too many people to buy the FX3 and then not the FX6. And I think that's probably why they haven't put the shutter angle on the FX3. That's the only thing that I can think of there, that's the reason why they wouldn't have added that. Nivak said the lack of differentiation between the FX3 and the S3 was probably a marketing problem for Sony. Yeah, and I think you're right, Nivak. That's why I said I'm worried now about the A7S3. I really am. I think they were too close before. It's exactly the same sensor. They worked basically exactly the same way. Like I said, the A7S3 will be a more expensive camera to manufacture because of the EVF. So they were probably losing money on the A7S3 as against selling the FX3. I'm sure they'd prefer to sell a lot more FX3s than A7S3s. Same sensor, but the EVF is the killer feature in that would be so expensive. So, yeah, I'm sure that they probably would love to phase the A7S3 out and push everyone over to the FX3. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. Michael said, the A7S3 will always be a great low-light camera, but Sony is focusing on film video. The A7S3 will become the camera that's more affordable versus the FX3. They might lower the price a bit. Maybe. I'm just thinking, though, Michael, it probably won't get replaced, though. Mark said, how do you feel about the FE 90mm macro? It's on sale, and so are the other products. The FE 90mm is fantastic. It's an incredibly sharp lens, Mark. The only thing about that lens, though, is that it's not very good in the autofocus department. But if you're looking if that doesn't bother you, and macro photography, it shouldn't, because you probably will be manual focusing anyway, that is a brilliant lens. It is such a good lens. Yeah, see, like Aaron has said, 90mm top notch. Yep. And Aaron does a lot of macro photography. Tech and Food said, David, I just purchased the Sony A7 for Sony 2470 GM, the Sony 70-200 GM. Was going to get the A7S III, but we'll wait to see what the A7R5 will be like. Yep. Good idea, Tech and Food. Like I said, I think now, looking at it, I still would buy the A7S III because I want the EVF. And I've always been honest with you guys that I use the EVF extensively for video and also stills. When you look at that, and people that have got the A1 will know what I'm talking about, when you look through that EVF, it is unbelievable. It's fantastic. But yeah, you'd want to make a choice about this now, because I think the future is if you want the video side of it, like for the A7S III, the FX3, if you've got the money, may be the better value if you don't use the EVF all the time. But great, congratulations on that lovely setup that you've bought. Matt said the A7S III and the FX3 are basically the same camera and should be getting the same firmware updates. I agree. I mean, look, in one way, yes. In some others, I don't, Matt. I've got no problem with them adding FX features because, remember, this is an FX line. It's not competing. It's not meant to compete with the A7 series line. So putting full-on videography features on the FX3, I'm quite happy with and quite comfortable with. It's things what they shouldn't be doing, like with the focus breathing, that should be coming to the A7S III. That should be there, and so should that LUT. feature as well, because that's an important feature that we use on the A7S series as well. But things where they're dealing with, the cine stuff and things like that, I can understand it because, remember, it is an FX line. So I've got no problem with Sony pushing that more towards the FX series of lines. But what I've got is where they're deliberately not giving things to the A7S3 like they should be, which is like that focus breathing. That focus breathing is a really important feature. And you're basically saying that really disappointed that Sony is obviously and deliberately crippling the A7S3. I would love to see the 8K in the A7 IV and 8K 60 in the FX1. Haircut, sorry for the Gen Z. Oh, me, haircut. I need a haircut, actually. You can just see a fraction on there. I just got some sunspots burnt the other day. I should put my hat on. Would love to see Fujifilm in your hand, David. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I don't know why they didn't contact me. That was a week ago they contacted me about that. No focus breathing in the FX. Oh, so they didn't add it. Oh, that's interesting, Michael. So it's only the A7 IV, is it, that has the focus breathing? Well, that's ridiculous for the FX3 as well. Andre said, yeah, I did update the FX3 and it hasn't got it. Oh, okay. The way you set up the RCP2 is awesome. Yeah, it looks nice, doesn't it, sitting on a stand like that? It's sitting on a boom arm, and it's then on a little adapter. It's actually a tripod adapter with a ball head, and then I can move it around to sort of where I want to actually have it. So, yeah, I love it. Thanks, Freddie. I took the option last year to buy 2 FX3s over the S3. Now I'm counting my blessings, though. I wish I'd bought 3, turning into a gearhead. Andre said, I think it's all based on the sales. That will decide if the A7 series will be discontinued or not. As you said, they make more money from a camera like the FX3. They definitely would. Remember, it's basically the same camera, but no EVF. They'd make way more from an FX3 than they would with a A7S3, that's for sure. Aaron said, I use that 90mm 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for jewellery photography. Yeah, I knew you loved that lens, Aaron. Only the A7 IV and the FX6 has the focus breathing. So it was the FX6. See, again, they've done that, haven't they? They've deliberately left it out from the FX3. It should have been on the FX3 as well. Wow. The 90mm Sony Macros AF is fine. It's just very slow. Yeah. A 2015 release, so older motors. Very, very sharp lens. Good for portraits too. Yep. Andre said, but if they will launch the A7S for sales, it will be great. And after the hype, they will release the FX1 Mark II to make more money. I think they did get that focus map feature, though, didn't they? I think they did get that. Let me know about that, guys, that have got the FX3. Did it get the focus map feature? And then Freddie just said thanks as well. And we've caught up with the chat. Well, at least we got the show going, and there's been no case running. I'm going to have to do some tests after this to see why that failed. I'm going through Ecamm, and I don't like going through Ecamm. I prefer to stream directly live, but I'm not sure what was going on, so I'm going to have to do some testing on that a little bit later. So apart from that, guys, please check out the last 2 videos I've put up. The one I just put up, just the last one with the wireless video, is an amazing piece of kit. And if you are ever thinking about getting into that, check that out because it is super, that thing. I mean, I've got multiple wireless systems in here that I use, and that is by far the best one I've used where it didn't drop out. They're not paying me to say any of this. I mean, I've done the review for them. They didn't ask me to say anything with the review, but it's the only system I've used where I've been able to walk in here into the studio and it didn't drop a signal at all. It's the only system I've ever been able to do that. And the actual interface that you look at through the iPad or the iPhone is amazing with the number of settings that you can do. So check that out because it really is a great wireless system from Asun. So apart from that, everyone, that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back again next week now, so I'll be back weekly now, now that I've getting over the big COVID. And apart from that, have a a great weekend, everyone, and really appreciate you popping in. We had a few issues at the start of today's show, so I had to restream it. And that's about it, guys. So thank you so much, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now, everyone.